shouldn't be so hard on yourself. Sometimes we can be really hard on ourselves because we feel like we're not doing enough, or we don't understand, or emotions take over and we're frustrated and we're angry, and it's okay. I feel like immediately you should give them the opportunity to acknowledge that and give themselves grace and space, and then follow up with, all the plethora of nonprofits and organizations and researchers who are waiting to help, and to invite them to have a conversation, with someone who can do that for them. I think you've got to acknowledge those emotions first, and then, say it's okay. There's no guidebook to this, right? Like, no, there isn't. And if somebody comes out with one, I'm gonna be like, okay, all right. Again, give yourself grace and space, and don't feel like you're alone. You don't have to do it alone.
Yeah, I think that's important too, is just realizing that you didn't choose this, It wasn't like you walked into a car dealership and you're getting the option of like buying the clunker or buying, the super expensive sports car. Like, you got the hand that you were dealt, and now it's like, yeah, it did in a lot of ways. And now it's like, okay, how are you going to handle it? And, I always remember thinking back, I just want that sense of normalcy. So I wanted to go back to that, and then trying to understand, okay, like, well, how can I do that while also realizing that I am going through something. So when we talk about like that message, or it's having people with you, whether that is a friend, whether that's a boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband, whether it's a cousin, and having someone with you in some of those meetings, because sometimes you'll hear something and your mind starts thinking about, well, what does that mean? How do I do that? And now you're in your head, you're 7-8 questions to yourself down, and then you missed the last 3 sentences that the doctor said. And if you have someone there with you, they're going to remember that, because everything starts to blur. And especially once you start to get on some of the treatments too, like, chemo, there's a thing called chemo brain, and it's true. And you're not going to remember certain things that happen where you think you're going to, and then you're like, I don't even remember this happening. So, having that support group, no matter who it is, I think is really important. And then also just realizing that, like, take it one step at a time. You can look down the road and you're going to try to figure out, how am I going to get past all of it? But you need to get to tomorrow, make a decision, get to the next day. So it is one step at a time.
You absolutely have to know as much about yourself as you can with the genetic testing, with whatever, and get a good team around you. To support you, but you just said, because so many of the therapies are targeted to specific things, and unless you have that, unless you know as much about yourself, that's what finds you, or you can find it. And I know sometimes that can be a little blunt to some people, but I'm just pretty frank that that's what benefited me, and it took 2 years for me to realize how important that was.